G'day and welcome to another big edition of the RDFNL Netball Show. Looking back on round 4, looking ahead to round 5. My name's Yeendy. I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly, and it's all flying up for what is shaping up to be an exciting season with the interleague break just around the corner.
It is. Obviously, we're starting to see the ladder sort of sort itself out, get an idea of where all the teams are sitting. Had some good results on the weekend, had a couple of close ones, and there was a couple of blowouts. But we're getting more of an indication of where every side sits.
We certainly get a bit of indication where the Centrals are sitting, because they haven't had the best start to the season, a little bit rocky, but we have highlighted that throughout the year, a bit of a development season for them so far. They went down to the Red Hot Bombers 59-41.
Looking at the stats that were online for this, there was one big difference: shooting accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. Randy said they could have quite easily been 3-0 if they had have shot well. Looking at the weekend, they struggled. They had both their shooters under 60% accuracy, which hurts when you've got Beck Caldwell, one of the best players in the competition, shooting 48 from 49 goals.
Yeah.
So that sort of tells you the difference there. You've got Beck starring at one end, the other end, Melton Centrals have struggled. But you've got to look... Riddle's probably pressuring the defensive end as well. You do have Lauren Close down in defence, who's one of the best defenders in the comp. So you look at that there. I expected Riddle to get up, and they did in the end by 18 goals. But I think Melton Centrals would have been disappointed in that performance.
Oh, they definitely would have been disappointed. And the reality is to be shooting under 60% is very tough, especially when you've got Beck Caldwell, who traditionally, she's probably one of the best shooters in the game in terms of accuracy.
Oh, most definitely. She rarely misses any goals at all. So she's not just one of the best shooters in this comp. We've seen for a number of years she's one of the best players in the comp, and it makes a big difference to any team to have her in. And you look at it, she did it there. I saw her play in round 1, and she was dominant then and kept them in the game against Macedon, so she is the key for them, and obviously it was an important win for Riddle there.
Yeah, I've watched her down at VNL, and she is electrifying. She's up against some of the best netballers in the region, and she's still carving it up with deadly accuracy. Rockbank got a really big win on the board over Broadford by 32 goals. The Rams, that's their second win of the season. They are flying high. They're starting to knock over some sides and starting to cause some trouble.
It is, obviously. They would have been disappointed with their result against Wood and Heskett. That was a match they would have said, we want to win and we think we can win. So they've obviously bounced back in really good fashion there. You've got 55-23, so they've smashed it by 32 goals. And I'm not sort of surprised. We've said this all along. Broadford is a different side when they don't have Amelia Brock. They didn't have Amelia Brock, and they seem like they will probably struggle when they don't have her. So we're starting to see that they're probably going to be in the bottom half of the competition. They've got a side back out there, so it's about developing for them, and they will get better as the season gets along as they gel. But sort of seeing where these two teams are at. Yeah,
we know Broadford will get better, but it is, I don't know about you, but I feel that genuine excitement to see Rockbank getting some wins on the board, and they could easily be 3-1 if not for Wood and Heskett putting on a blinding performance with their young girls a couple of weeks ago. So to see where they're at and where they've come from is quite remarkable, and I think it gives Broadford a little bit of hope as well that Rockbank did have to drop their A-grade side a few seasons ago, and they've had to go through the rebuilding phase, and Broadford have had to do the same thing. So Broadford can probably look to where Rockbank are going, where Wallens are going, and saying, well, we can. There's still, if we really buy into it and really invest in it, we can start to see the results maybe quicker than later.
Exactly, and I saw Rockbank play round 1, and I saw that excitement for them to get the win. It was their first A-grade win against Melton Centrals ever, but for them it's about that confidence, and they're excited about what they can do. They've got a number of talented players there, and as you said, it shows what sides can do if you make sure that you're building properly, you're getting the players in, getting the right support system, and obviously I think Broadford's doing that, and they've got a lot of depth across their whole entire squad.
Speaking of, I guess, a bit of a change up in depth, we saw Romsey come out and put on a really good display against Wood and Heskett, and we know Romsey have had a few personnel changes in the off-season. Chelsea Ross, she was on fire. She was unstoppable with 42 of the 67 goals there for the Redbacks. She's flying, and I think the Redbacks, they're starting to get their premiership title defence back in check.
It is. They've still got a lot of premiership players in that squad. They've added in a few players from outside and promoted some from B grade, and we're sort of starting to see them gel a bit more. They're always going to be a dangerous side. We've seen it. They've had a draw with Melton Centrals. They took it up to Rupert's Wood, so they have been competitive in their matches. And you look at it, I think the weekend gave them an opportunity to try a few different combinations as well, and that's something they'll look to build on.
Yeah, and I think that the Hawks can still take a bit of positivity out of that, because their lineup is the youngest in the competition, and the 3 or 4 years in time, that those girls are going to be absolutely outstanding. So to be up against one of the powerhouse teams of the competition, it's not going to do their confidence any harm.
Look, I think Hawks would be disappointed with that performance, especially coming off a win. But looking into it, you've got Tara Burnett didn't play, so you're missing your key goal shooter, and you've got Brittany Bowen, who had been playing centre, hurt her ankle against Rockbank the previous week, and she didn't play as well. So they were missing a couple of key players out of that squad. But in the end, I think they would have been a little bit disappointed with that performance after such a great performance the week before.
Well, hopefully they can bounce back. Another big game over at the Shark Tank. Rupert's Wood having a really big win over Diggers Rest by 10 goals in a really good contest that ebbed and flowed throughout the day.
It was. I managed to see that game, and it was my first look at Diggers Rest this season. So they've obviously got 4 new players into that starting lineup, and it was a good opportunity to see them. You can see why they have dominated their early games. You can see they've got a lot of talent across the court. They've got a lot of height, adding Carly Harrison into that mid-court. And down in that goal circle, you've got Kathy Dicker, who can basically shoot them from anywhere. So a lot of time you'll get a goal shooter that they only like the goals under the ring, but she can shoot them from anywhere, and you can see why they've had such a good start. But it was the Sharks' day. The Sharks probably were the better side for most of the day. They did get the lead out to about 8 goals in that third quarter before the Burrows came back, and it got back to 2 or 3, so you thought, oh, this game might go down to the wire. But in the end, the Sharks found another level and were quite dominant in the last quarter to run away with a 10-goal win.
Haven't the Sharks improved in the last few weeks as well? They've been playing some great netball, given that they had... We've spoken about it a lot, but that delayed start, it hasn't hurt them at all.
They had a delayed start, but you look at a lot of their squad, and a lot of their squad has actually played together. So you've got Abby Gilmore, who's coming in goals, is one of their new players, and she's settled in there brilliantly and gives them 3 really good goaling options. And then you've got Shannon Blackman, who's coming to the mid-court, adds a different angle there. But you look at it, they've got a lot of these players who have been through this Rupert's Wood system for a number of years. Obviously, yes, a slow start to the off-season, but you've got improvements. I was really impressed with Lara Keating in defence. So she played 3 of the 4 quarters, and she's taken that next step up. And if you look at Rupert's Wood so far this season, they defeated Romsey, they've defeated Diggers Rest, obviously Wood End early on, and they were in front against Macedon at half time. And then obviously, speaking with Diane McCormack, she said they let things off the court affect them. So they haven't been far. They're 3-1, had a really, really good start, and they'll be around the mix again. Yeah,
it's very exciting to see how they go on. And love the work there from Lara Keating. She's had some premiership success at the club, so looking forward to watching her development. And the last game, sort of the 3 o'clock game, it was Macedon just fighting off Wallen by 9 goals, 39 to 30.
It was, and this was obviously Macedon pre-season favourites. They did what they needed to across the line. Obviously, they had Katie Clark back for her first game of the season, so they're starting to get their full complement of players. But Wallen really took it up to them. Macedon were in front by 11 goals at 3/4 time, and Wallen ended up getting within 5, but just ran out of legs in the end. And looking at that Magpies side, they were still missing 3 players out of their squad, so they've got a lot of depth there still to come back in. Their defensive line's really good. All 3 of their defenders do play VNL as well, so they are developing a really, really talented squad, and they will push a lot of sides.
And Chris Cameron, obviously with his experience up at a top level working around the Australian team, has worked well, and to be able to bring a great group of girls together. There's been a lot of work that's sort of gone in behind the scenes, and we've mentioned that earlier with Rockbank, and we know Broadford are doing it. So the rebuilding of your netball structure, if you get the right people, which Wallen have done, we're starting to see some really exciting things, and there's a lot of enthusiasm around the club as well, and they'd be happy with that result. That'll give them an idea. That's Macedon are one of the benchmarks of the competition. They'll be happy with that, and sort of the hard work they're putting behind the scenes to work up all the levels to get these players ready for a big season.
Exactly, and they're showing that they're starting to bring some of the younger players through. You've got Kate Phillips, who's only 17, who's playing in that A-grade side, and you can't tell that she is that young on court. So they're bringing players through, and it's only going to get better for them. You've got a brand new side that's been put together, and they've had a good start to the season. Now it's about making sure they keep that momentum and take that next step.
Well, it's certainly exciting for them. As we turn our attention to this weekend's games before the Interleague weekend, we've got Broadford and Riddle. Can Broadford, what can they do to sort of bring some fire into this contest?
Look, they've probably got to stop Beck Caldwell. And that's the difference. Look, she shot 48 from 49 goals last round, and she was the difference against Melton Central. So the key is to try and stop her. She is the Bombers' main goal scorer. You stop her and you go a long way to beating the Bombers. Yeah, exactly right there. Are Broadford a chance? Look, they need Amelia Brock. Yep. As I will probably say this every single episode. You had $1 for every time you said that. You'd be rich I know, and if she does play, it'd be a juicy contest between her and Lauren Close. So
Yeah.
two very talented players there. But yeah, that's probably the key for them. Otherwise, I think Bombers will be too strong.
That would be appetising. I don't know why she hasn't been playing, but if she gets in the team, you've got her at one end, you've got Beck Collett at the other, you've got two of the best sharpshooters in the competition. That's worth paying money to go and see.
Exactly, and that's it. You've got the two of the best, and they both play VNL as well, so they both played at that higher level and both show high level players.
Yeah, Diggers Rest and Macedon's going to be a very interesting contest.
This will be another one. I think this could be game of the round. Obviously, I saw Diggers Rest last week and they showed signs of why they've been so good, but then they're testing themselves against some of these top sides. They had Rupertswood last week, they've got Macedon this week. Macedon's sort of done what they've had to do. They haven't been super impressive in the first 4 weeks, but they have added a few players into that squad and they've had players missing through VNL commitments and injury. So for them, it's been making sure they're just getting the wins. I think they're going to build as the season goes on. I think it'll be a pretty good match.
Diggers Rest a chance to win?
I think they are. I'm still going to go with Macedon. Macedon hasn't done anything to say I'm not going to tip against them, but could quite easily see how Diggers could get up with that win.
I'm going to be bold and dangerous and jump on the other boroughs bandwagon. They have showed enough this year that they are a big contender, and they are my smoky for the premiership. I think if any team's going to come from probably outside the top 4 from 2017, they are the team I think will certainly rattle a few cages. So I think if they win this is a big announcement to the competition that, hey, we're here, we're the real deal.
Look, I'm expecting them to win finals this year.
Yep.
I've been impressed with what they've seen, and they have got that talented squad. Whether or not how far they go, I'm not sure, but it's about building, and winning a final is probably a minimum for them this season.
Rockbank and Wallen, a couple of weeks ago, we would have probably expected the Wallen win quite comfortably, but Rockbank, as we spoke about earlier on in the show, they are really coming, and they put on a really good performance on the weekend. This could be a much interesting game.
Look, I think it will be, and it's another judge of where Rockbank is at. So they're sort of trying to bridge that gap with some of the top sides. And Wallen has been competitive against those top sides. So these are two of the sides trying to break into that top 6. So obviously Rockbank finished down towards the bottom last year. Wallen didn't have a side. So for them, it's about building these teams and going. Obviously, I was impressed with what I saw Rockbank round 1, but then on the back of Wallen's performance against Macedon, when they only lost by 9 goals and were missing 3 players from their squad, it's hard to go past Wallen. Yeah,
it really is. But it'd be a really good, as you mentioned, a great chance to see where Rockbank are at. And if they can somehow cause a bit of an upset here, the F word might come into calculations. I'm not putting the Mozza on, but if a big win like this could really launch a team into finals calculations.
Look, I think Rockbank would love to play finals this year, and they've said that pre-season. It's about making sure they're improvement. They reckon they're 2-3 years off from having a proper tilt at a premiership, so for them, making finals would be that next step in that process.
Yeah, but at this stage it looks like Wallen will be just a bit too strong. Wood and Heskett to play Rupertswood. They've already played this year, back in round 1 over at Lansfield. How do you see this one going?
Look, obviously you've got the Sharks who come off an interrupted pre-season. That was their first match in, and they've sort of built the last couple of weeks and been impressive against some top level sides. They've played Romsey, Macedon and Diggers Rest, so they're 3 sides that you expect to be in the top 6. And you've got the Hawks have been a little bit up and down. They've had some good performances and then they've had some average performances. So I think for the Hawks it's about trying to reduce the margin that they lost in round 1. It's about getting that little bit closer to the Sharks. For the Sharks, I think it's about just continuing what they're doing, making sure they're getting the processes in place and getting those on-court combinations right.
Expect them to win?
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, the last game we'll look at, which will be very, very interesting, Romsey and Melton Centrals. This all of a sudden sort of becomes like an 8-point game, so to speak. Whoever wins this is going to be very helpful for their season.
It is, and quite interesting. And like we said with Rupertswood and Wood End, these two top sides have already battled, and they had a draw.
Exactly. It doesn't get much closer than that.
Yeah, it was hard to get a format. Obviously, that one, I think Centrals had more scoring shots and weren't able to make the most of them, and they were poor shooting on the weekend again. So, Melton Centrals have shown they can get the ball when they're in the ring, in the circle. Sorry, it's about getting in the ring. So, but Romsey's getting better and better. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from Romsey. They're building some of those players who have come through, and they're very solid. They've got some players, reliable players, week in, week out, and I reckon Romsey might get up.
I reckon Melton Centrals will get up. They have, if the wet conditions that are tipped come into play, they have played in these conditions. They've played in some of the worst conditions. We'll see in any type of weather, and also I think they did that last year as well when we had the hail. I think they played in that game too.
They knocked off Rupert's Wood in overtime in that first week, in extra time in that first week of the finals. So Melton Centrals have shown, as you said, they can play in those conditions, but I think Romsey will get up. Yeah,
I think we're a draw on this one with where we stand. Maybe we'll get another one. We'll find out between the two sides. Tara, thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to catching up with you next week as we not only look back on round 5, but we also talk up Interleague.
Thanks for having me.